Dear Harstem, War Prisms are frustrating. I tried opening with a Mind Drop, which I believe is the standard build against Protoss. I took damage from his Adepts, but I thought I was still in playable position. I got some decent damage on his workers with my mines, and I believed that the game was at least even, if not, in my favor. This wasn't my best gameplay, since I floated some cash and expanded a little late, but I believed that I was ahead at this point. I scouted his Robo-Bay, but didn't pay much attention to it, because I thought it would only be used for Observers and Immortals. I do a push, but get held by the Super Battery plus Guardian Shield. So I return to my base, spend my money, and do another push. Then I get backstabbed by a Warpin on my side of the map. I'm not able to multitask, so I try my best to clean it up, which I eventually do. But why can the TOS just make Zealots on my side of the map, A-move them to my base, and leave with the War Prism alive? I admit I should have made some more turrets and sensor towers and Vikings. But even then, he'll just warp in Zealots nearby one of my bases and walk them in. I can't even pull a drop move against TOS, because they can always just warp in instant defense. I was up in supply, up in bases, and I should at least be able to kill something. But I can't, and I don't know why. His army control wasn't even that good, walking Templar to their death from siege tanks. If I don't pay attention to my army, I end up back in the lobby with 20 less MMR, but if Protoss doesn't pay attention to their army, they're absolutely fine. So how did this Protoss win against me with questionable army control, early game damage, and less supply? The only thing I can think of is that he had an upgrade advantage. And yet, that upgrade advantage instantly makes my supply worthless. So, is it imbalanced? Or do I suck? This replay was sent in to me by MaxRex, a North American player in the Platinum League with 3k MMR, asking, is Protoss imbalanced? Or does he suck? Let's find out. And our good friend MaxRex is playing against a player called Gold Leaguer. Great nickname, by the way, MaxRex. I think of all the imbalanced complaint forms that I've received, MaxRex has to be... This one's pretty freaking good, not gonna lie. It's a nice parody on Max Packs, and there's a Terran word in it, and this dude is a Terran, so 5 stars for that, and 5 stars out of 5. That is truly unheard of. We're gonna have a single gas expansion. Ooh, a straight triple pro pool into the gas. This always hurts my pro gamer heart a little bit. I know I'm fine with this at the lower level, anything below Diamond 1. You don't have to rally into the gas or maximize your mineral input, but it's still, it feels wrong, you know? It hurts my Protoss soul seeing a build order desecrated like that. It's okay. It's not the worst I see on a daily basis. As we have an SCV chasing a probe. Is that a Reaper? Okay, Reaper as the first unit. CC is going down at a reasonable time. 1 minute and 42 seconds. The standard timing is 1:38, so the CC only being 4 seconds late at 3k MMR. Look, I'd sign off on that, all right? I'd be happy with that. If someone would tell me that a Platinum League player would only be down 4 seconds, 2 minutes into the game, I give that the thumbs up for sure. Absolutely. Reaper's gonna make its way across the map. We see a second gateway out of Gold Leaguer. This is the type of stuff that actually triggers the ever-living crap out of me. Because this gateway, okay, I know I usually don't criticize, but Protoss players need to learn once and for all, okay? If you're a Protoss player at home, it's time to learn. If you're building a second gateway, the moment your warp gate starts, this gateway is going to be finished way too quick. There is no point building it this fast. You're not gonna get extra units adding this gateway quicker. You're actually gonna have less units because you usually can't afford to build continuous units out of your first gateway. And also it tends to interfere with your tech, or in this case, with your freaking Nexus, because Gold Leaker has decided to skip the Nexus. He went for a 1 gas into 1 gate, into second gas, into second gate. This is a complete non-build. What the hell is this guy doing? What do you call these guys that are really into rocks? You have like the tree huggers. It's like a geophile or something like that. People that like to get very up close with the rock formations. We found one of them. Freaking Reaper. Not surprised. Always been a little bit fishy, these guys. Perfect job here. Managed to spread the damage evenly among the probes. This is a communist Reaper. Yeah. Yeah, everyone gets the same here, my friends. You a little bit of damage, you a little... Oh, back to the rocks, of course. How is this possible? And he has to be doing this on purpose at this point. Phenomenal early game, though. Love to see it. Reaper dealt exactly 0 damage. And behind this, well, we actually have a reasonable-ish build order. Bunker, a little late. Worker production has been better than the opponent. I was gonna say, I don't think it has been very consistent or the entire way through consistent, but actually the worker count is bad, is as good as the Protoss opponent, and then I'm not gonna complain about it, because it's fine. You're ahead. Depots coming in time as well. The third depot, that is a tricky one. Terrans always forget that. Third pylons and third depots are so hard because at that point stuff is happening already. So I love to see that's already being built here. I think that's a huge play. We have a forge now coming in. Reaper went back in to evenly distribute some damage among the workers again. Yeah, it's beautiful to see. Reaper goes back home. He's done his job. A little bit of damage for everyone. Double adepts are gonna get pushed back as well. Pulled away the SCVs. Did we lose any SCVs? Lost 2 SCVs, 1 Marine so far. Honestly, phenomenal start for our Terran player. 47 supply to 36. Medevac and the mine drop. A little bit late, perhaps. A little bit late. Second barracks, not entirely on time. The amount of mines that is being built here, a little bit high. Is this a builder that I could see myself doing? No. And it's interesting because MaxRex referred to this as a standard build order. What MaxRex is showing here is not a standard build order. This is a parody on a standard build order. This is like listening to a Weird Al Yankovic song and thinking it's the original. It's like that is not what it is. This is the polka version. This is the polka version of the standard mine drop. He's also deciding to take the long way around. Not going straight across the map. Sometimes though, with this type of mine timing, despite being way too late, you accidentally arrive perfectly in time because the Protoss player doesn't believe anymore that something is still happening. You know? It's not in their mind anymore. Like this toss right now is thinking, oh, my opponent probably isn't mine dropping because that should hit about 45 seconds ago. He's still waiting as well. He's really sitting out his time. 5:30. So he's now officially a minute late. That is impressive. Because the game is only 5.5 minutes long. Let's see what time he actually enters. Let's not forget that he called this the standard. He also continued building mines. He has 8 mines in the early game. I don't think I've ever seen this in my entire life. Factory time is one of the most important things in the entire matchup. This man has built 8 mines. 5 of which are just chilling next to the factory, I guess. 5:52, 5:53. We're now officially a minute and a half late, and here we go. We're going in. And as I said, perfectly in time, because he's so freaking late that the other guy doesn't recognize it anymore and actually gets the damage. This is phenomenal. This is like being a French soldier in 1915, then being called in for the army, then showing up 29 years late and being perfectly in time for the Second World War. It's like, mate. Actually, not even perfectly in time. You'd be a little bit late for the Second World War already. This was perfectly in time, though. How many kills did he get? 12. 12 probe kills. So, theoretically, this should be enough to just win the game from here on out. We shouldn't be talking about it. Usually, it should be. And honestly, looking at the supply, that's the case as well. Yes, it's a lot of Marines, and Marines are not the greatest unit in the entire world, especially if a RoboBay is on the way, but right now, in this moment, our good friend Goldleaguer has no units. He has nothing. His army is complete balls. It's actually worse than balls, because a ball is a physical object, and there's nothing in here. It's... whatever army he thinks he has, he doesn't have it. So, like, this is nothing. This is what you can have, like, 4 minutes in. It's like a failed Immortal push that had to go back home. And I was just waiting to be finished off. Like a pig waiting for the slaughter. Second Immortal now comes in. We have 2 tanks, 19 Marines. A third base that's up. 6 workers advantage for MaxRex. Good nick. I'm never gonna quit loving this nickname. I feel like I'm softer on this guy as well because his nickname is good. So we're gonna ignore this part for a bit, okay? Or the second medevac. Oh, he's actually sending it. Okay, I've said nothing. Whenever I see units sitting at a bunker, I just get afraid. I just instantly, like, my heart rate goes up. Doing these IODIS things, it's actually a great cardio for me as well, great cardio exercise. When I wear like my smartwatch, it tells me I'm doing exercise in zone 4. Like serious exercise. I hit heart rate peaks when I'm watching these games. That's how bad it is. Sometimes if I wear the Apple Watch, you get like a warning and they call the doctor for me. Because they think something is wrong, like blood pressure's rising, stress levels through the roof. Very neat. This is one hell of a timing as well. These Team and Combat have finished up like half a year ago, no? This guy's pushing with... This guy moved out with 2 tanks, and before he arrives, he already has 4 tanks, with a 5th on the way. Make that make sense. Actually, don't, because you can't. That is... He actually does... It's a decent army. He has 1 tank just in the main base? Just protecting the tech labs or something? Why would he move back? I guess the other guy doesn't really care about the tanks either. This has to be a scripted game, no? Look at this fight. Look at this fight. This is a guy that walks in, sieges up, so he scanned forward. This is what makes it worse. This is what makes it worse. The scan forward, if there was no scan forward, I still wouldn't be okay with the way we got engaged, but this is a scan forward. You see exactly where the army is positioned. Now, what would someone intelligent do? Set up a tank over here, set up the second tank over here, then move forward with your bio still in tank range. What does our man do? He walks to confirm, to make sure that the army is still there. It's like, army's still there. Right. Time to siege up the tanks. Look at this move. Whoop. Moves in the tanks. This guy, having a banging fight, decides to move away during the fight, which might actually have been an okay call, now that I look at it again. He might have actually died. You know what? I don't mind that call. That was a good call. Then Max Rex decides, by the way, with half of his army, because the other half is still at home. There's 3 tanks at home right now. You have 4 Marines in here, bunch of Marauders, bunch of Marines. Decides, even with just the half of his army, he's only going to use half of his army. So right now he's using a quarter of his active force out on the map to fight into a super battery and a guardian shield of a sentry that has legitimately a single HP. This is some wildly bad decision making. Like, it's just impressively bad, honestly. It actually is impressively bad. This is like knowing what the value of Bitcoin is going to be in 2010 and then still buying a pizza with it. You have these stories of people that had like the Bitcoins. I mean, and they didn't know how much it was going to be worth. They end up paying like what? Like 5,000 or 10,000 Bitcoin to buy like a pizza at like Papa John's or something. But imagine these people had knowledge of the future and then still making that transaction. That is what this fight was like. Actually, this fight was worse than that. Because I can imagine being very hungry and having like 100,000 Bitcoin at that point and being like, 1 pizza isn't gonna kill me, you know? It's an expensive pizza, but boy, are you gonna enjoy it. Oh, and here comes the Prism. This is what we've been warned for. Prism flies in. Let's take a look at the response here. Response is to move the entire army back. Is a reasonable response? No, half the army back. Because you wouldn't want to accidentally fight with your entire army at the same time. I love that the decision here is to legit send half of it back. So if I wanted to still attack, what I would do is I'd send as many units to the front as possible, and then as little as necessary is what you use to defend. But this guy sent a crap ton of units back home. So he once again is fighting with only half of his army. First tank goes down for free. Second tank goes down for free. Marines are now shooting buildings. So once again, half of his army, so another quarter of his army is fighting. Now this half, or this quarter, is gonna come in and die as well. This dude is losing fights that should be theoretically impossible. Like, he just has the same army as he just had 10 seconds ago. He lost it over here. Now he has a carbon copy, basically, in this area again. I also love that he talked about not being capable of getting the prism. You see that? Did he just EMP himself? How do you not get this prism? First of all, this prism has been idling here for how long? Freaking 40 seconds? 10:21. Let's see when it actually enters here. Okay, legit 10:21. That's crazy. 10:21. So this prism has been idling here for 11 minutes. No, for 11 minutes. For a full minute. Full minute. Then you realize, wait, it's there. You come back in. Then you move command past it accidentally rather than properly stutter stepping. And then you EMP your own medevac as well as your Marines and Marauders. And then the prism escapes. That is one hell of a sequence. That is actually one hell of a sequence. Is there an antonym to highlight? Like low light? Because I feel like I could create a highlight, like a reverse highlight reel of this game. There has to be... Is there actually a word for that? I'm going to Google that. Google has no answers, but we'll call it the low light from now. We've had a couple of low lights already in this game, but I think the miss on the prism is the lowest light. The lowest of the low lights. The worst of the low lights. So we have... This is one hell of an army comp, by the way. This is actually a very good army composition. I want to see him control this. He has Storm, 4 Colossus, Immortal Disruptor. Sir, do you want any splash? Yes. And then he gets all of them. 4 Colossus. Does he have... He doesn't have a thermal lens yet, though. That's actually an issue. Templar are gonna die. It's 3 tanks, which are okay against it, but not okay enough. I love that you just lost every single unit. It was not a good fight. This is actually a really bad fight by the TOS. I'm not entirely sure why we're staying here with 3 tanks. Just holding this area while the reinforcements arrive in 45 seconds from now. I feel like people at this level give each other too little credit of what they're capable of. Like, it is ridiculous to leave the 3 tanks there now. This Viking move out is also pretty wild. Like, the only anti-air you have, and you fly it legit into your opponent's stalkers, as far away from your main army as possible. 1 Colossus stays alive. This is actually a very winning fight for the Protoss, who is significantly up in upgrades as well, by the way. Can we just mention that? Yeah, we definitely can mention that. I love the amount of emphasis that MaxRex put on being up in supply. Being up in supply only really counts if you fight with all of your supply as well. Like, if you're up 100 supply, but you use 50 supply to pet the rocks in the corner and stand in a circle and sing, and there's really no point to it. You need to actually fight with everything. And on top of that, the army compositions have been banging for the TOS. Good blink forward. It's gonna actually snipe this orbital, I guess, or it just won't get repaired. It's gonna go for the next one as well. These are some absolutely bananas fights. You have a forward base going up here on the right side. At this point, TOS is also ahead in eco and has a massive bank. So I'm kind of starting to believe that the TOS has it at this point. I would love to see a transition back into the Colossus, though. Like, the Colossus actually were phenomenal. Templar also could be good because there's not a single tank remaining. You have 30 Marines. I think this might also be the only Terran in the entire world that doesn't use the all-army hotkey. Because we just have, like, random rallies that then just stand still for half an hour. Also only have a single medevac, which really sucks. Like, once again, we're just moving out, lacking, like, 25-30 supply. I don't think this tank has ever left this spot from the very start. I don't believe MaxRex is aware of the fact that it's still there. Loving the scan here, sees his opponent's army, and then should run away from it or go into this third, but at a high pace. Like, surely we want to deal damage quickly. How are we controlling an army that's right-clicking in a simulator? Oh well. This was actually okay. Probably could have continued clearing those and then gotten a pickup into the main base or something. This definitely was an F2 move, and now the rest of the army is showing up midway through. Lovely to see. It's almost like he's doing this on purpose, having the most asynchronous attacks possible. Like, attack with one half of the army and then just as your entire army has died, the second half is gonna show up. There's some sick control on the Immortal. Holy cow. That was actually neat. Not sure why we're getting air weapons. Finally, we're also getting 2-2, by the way. Eco in favor of Gold Leaguer still, who's now getting in a Zealot Warp in. These are the dreaded Zealot Warp ins that cost Max Rex this game. That definitely is it. Look at the damage here that's being dealt. He just lost 6 Zealots to kill... Well, actually, a lot more Marines than I thought. 5-6 Marines and an SCV. So not actually worth it. Max Rex also just gives up. I love that. That is actually one of the many characteristics that I look for in top-level StarCraft players. Is that when things get difficult, you just go home and give up. Like these Vikings are on a wild chase onto the Prism and then midway through decided that it wasn't worth the effort anymore. Don't want to run out of fuel after all. Fuel's expensive these days. It is also one hell of an army. Please storm it. Please. Actually, please storm your own Archons or something. That would actually make my day more than anything else. Yeah, I mean, at this point, the army supply is bigger for Gold Leaguer. And Gold Leaguer does have the all-army hotkey in use. And also sends the entire army across the map the entire time. Which is a pretty freaking big deal. We're also still up, well, right now, through, 2 upgrades. Which is a decently sized deal, not gonna lie. This CC is gonna die. We have another backup CC already going up. We have a second backup CC also going up. This Prism once again is coming in. Legendary Prism. Survived early on. Could maybe be spotted here and shot. Double Viking land. So this army shows up. I mean, this game should be over. I'd be surprised if Max Rex manages to hold, but we still have the backup tank. Whose entire job was defending these tech labs. And now he can finally jump into the action. Good storm. GG! This is one of these classic cases. We've had a lot of IODISes like this. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of IODISes were like this, where people complain about something, and then you watch the game. If I had to play one of these... You know how in kids, like when you're a kid, some of you might still be a kid, but if you're a kid, I remember in school, you have like an object, like glasses, that then you need to connect to the word glasses. You know, so you have a picture of glasses, and then you have the word glass. And you need to like draw a line, and there's like 6 pictures and 6 words. There are some IODISes like this one where you have the description of the game and then you have the replay. And I don't think I would be capable of drawing that line here. Like, I'm looking at what the Prism achieved in this game, and I am just not really seeing it, to be honest. I am just not seeing it. Maybe that's me, but what I saw this Prism do is it killed like 4 or 5 workers. It stopped an attack temporarily, and then you still went for it anyway. If anything, the Prism almost forced you to combine your entire army together. So he almost did you a favor. And then after that, the Prism killed like 2 workers and 5 Marines for 6 Zealots. Or the warp-in of the Prism. The Prism itself doesn't do a whole lot except fly around and provide a service to Aiur. Yeah, I'm all for complaining about the Prism. The Prism is an annoying unit to fight against, and it's very frustrating when 20 units get warped in and you weren't ready, but that's not really what I saw here. What I saw here is a Terran incapable of using the all-army hotkey, a Terran incapable of thinking of army compositions that aren't Marine, Tank, Marauder, Medevac, Herder, walk across the map with half of my supply. Oh, I lost. Let me walk across the map with the other half. Oh, I lost again. Like, if at any point you would have just put your supply together, or at any point you would have gone for a drop somewhere maybe to multitask, which is really what Medevacs are very good at, might have helped getting a higher ghost count, not EMPing your own Medevacs, but instead EMPing your opponent's army and getting some Vikings that you don't fly into your opponent's stalkers. I think those were the real issues, and I don't think that was in balance. I think that was all in the brain, or the lack of the brain. I'm sorry, Max Rex, but this one's on you. You suck. That's just the way it is. All right, my dear friends, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you did all enjoy this episode of Is It IMBA or Do I Suck? If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I hope to see all of you next time for a new video. Thanks, and bye-bye.